Pure Muscle Radio for you today with Justin Shier and Dorian Heavy D Hamilton. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Yeah, welcome.
You nailed my last name this time.
Yeah, yes,
you got it.
Do a lot of people call you Shier?
Shier.
I did.
He made the.
You gave me shit right away.
You're guilty of it as well.
Guilty.
Okay, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So, welcome to AG Muscle once again. And now it's like the official takeoff, kickoff.
And we got some momentum.
Now.
Yeah.
And so how is it to be that well connected with like the owner of the company, because you trained with Dorian yesterday and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, I think, anytime you get with a company, being able to integrate yourself in this capacity is really rewarding. You know what I mean? To feel like you're actually a part of something, training with the owner, being here at the warehouse, it just helps, feel like you're genuinely a part of something, opposed to just being at home and receiving packages in the mail and
it's more authentic, right?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I value it a lot. This last week I've just trained with yourself, Quentin. It was just a really cool experience, and I really value it. And it made me feel like I was genuinely a part of something.
When I was on my way over here, I was actually thinking, it's pretty crazy because like within the brand, how close we actually all really are, like how connected we are.
Yeah.
And it just makes it that much funner. Like even like Nick and you already have a relationship. You guys are close. You know what I mean? And then with Antoine and Quentin and everyone here in the community and Valerie and we're all just like such a close community. So it's so much funner being able to do it with people that are like-minded.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You're actually friends.
And that's actually what I picked up on here. I think I was telling you last night in the car. You get here and you realize that, you guys are all friends. It's like a bit of a family here. It's a community built that's, all fully integrated under one roof. You guys all train in the same place. Yep. You guys are all together daily. And, it's really cool. And I really admire what you guys are doing.
Yeah. Some people, they go to work. They have like their work friends that don't really see outside of work.
Yeah.
And they have their friends that they see once every 3 weeks because they're working all the time.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I go to the gym and then I'm going to train around my friends or with my friends. And I'm going to work around my friends, and I see my friends every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's different because with something that we're passionate about. I mean, we love this. We love bodybuilding, and obviously your passion for this fully shines in the gym. And I think like my favorite part of bodybuilding is the training aspect of things. So to come in here and see the attention to detail in the equipment and the vibe that you guys have put in the gym, man, I commend you.
Oh, thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, it was cool because I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I was talking with you or it was you, Justin, but it's pretty cool because obviously Toronto Pro just happened. There's a lot of people in town, and one of HT Muscle athletes, Chris Burr, he owns a gym out in Saskatchewan. And he came up to me and he was just like, really appreciative and just saying like just how amazing the gym was and just the vibe and the energy throughout and how just like full his cup felt while he was here.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys have are realized, but it's rare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've traveled to a lot of places, and to feel like the camaraderie and, that it's just not a common thing you stumble upon.
Yeah. I remember like when I grew up, and I don't know about you, Antoine, in Montreal, but when I grew up and you'd see pro bodybuilders, you'd go to the gyms, you're always so intrigued because we were aspiring bodybuilders, but it was always that mentality of like hoodie up, and they had this stigma of like, kind of being like a meathead, an asshole, don't bug them. Where I think people, when they come here and they see guys like you and you, Justin, you guys are friendly. Like the guy came up to you yesterday, shook your hand, you took the time to say hello to him.
Yeah, of course.
I think they really appreciate that. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I get to go to a gym where there's all these professional athletes and they're supportive of me as well. And you know what I mean? Like everyone supports one another and lifts each other up.
Well,
and the only time I ever experienced that was actually Gold's Gym Venice when I went, probably like 2011 when it was still like popping. Yeah. It had that same vibe where everyone was like supportive and happy and,
the Mecca.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it should be. And I think you and I talked about this yesterday when we were training. I think there's it's been such almost like a stereotypical thing that I feel like a lot of guys almost have to feel like they have to personify, is that hood up, hardcore. You watch the Machiavelli motivation videos and you want to be hood up, sweating, head down.
Black and white.
You're not hardcore unless you do that. You're not working hard.
And like, right now I'm 7 weeks out, or it's like 6.5 weeks out. I'm hungry, I'm tired, but I think it's it's a choice to be enjoying this process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also you have to realize that like we're doing this as a choice. It's a, you know, we're really, I'm grateful to be able to make, it is a luxury. And it's just a lot more fun when you're enjoying it and you're letting people in on the journey. And then especially here, like I'm meeting your guys' community.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to, and, you know, you meet new friends and you make connections and you know, it's also, you know, how you build your personal brand. How do you want yourself to be perceived within the you know, the image of the.
And also when you say like take the time, take the pictures and all that stuff, when you think about it, I find since I had lots of attention from online stuff, it's so easy for us to make somebody's day, week, or month.
Man.
So it's like, it's your responsibility. I'll say that it's my responsibility. I find that if somebody comes up, it's so easy for me to make them happy. I have to do it.
Yeah.
Even if I don't feel good, it's like
Spider-Man said it best. What was it? With great power
comes great responsibility. Yeah. But you know, like you said, it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, and yesterday we had that kid that came up to me a second time and said, "Hey, I wanted to thank you for actually taking the time to talk to me yesterday." And I mean, the kid thought about that for 24 hours, seen me again, and thought, "I'm going to go thank him."
You made his week.
I mean, listen, the interaction was maybe a 90-second, 2-minute interaction. I shook his hand. I asked him how he was enjoying the gym, and I talked to him about the show. And then, you know, he didn't take up too much of my time, and I went and I kept training. It was not a big deal, you know. But you know, I'm always flattered, you know, when somebody actually wants to take the time and wants to meet me. I'm constantly honored by that personally. You know, like
it's cool to be able to inspire other people.
Yeah, and it's not like an egotistical thing. It's just you know, what it is. It's a recognition that, you know, people admire you, people want to meet you, and you should feel honored by that personally. Yeah. I feel, you know what I mean. I think, you know, some people do it, maybe allow it to get to their head, or maybe they just maybe they just feel like it's a bit of a burden on them, and they rather not deal with it. But I think again that comes down to a mindset, and it's a choice, right?
Yeah,
you know,
depends to the level also of how famous you are, I guess. Like,
well, yeah, none of us are Chris Bumstead. Yeah. You know what I mean. And we even seen it with Urs out there. Urs had a line across the gym. You know,
crazy, right?
But he took the time. Yeah, I mean, he took the time, shook everyone's hand, took all the pictures, and the kid's a class act. But that's why people love him.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Wow. Line up at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was genuinely a line that started trailing down the gym. Yeah.
I mean, you do it once, you know, then it's done. And yeah. Wow. Yeah. I guess the only time that it's kind of would be annoying is like, for example, at like expos, guys who are like really famous, like Chris Bumstead, or even like my friend Jujumufu. If you gotta go to the bathroom or go eat, people they want to get that little.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, you're always gonna run into the oddball guy that wants to shake your hand while you're peeing.
Oh yeah.
You know, or talks to you right in the middle of your set. But you know, it's like you just have to handle that as gracefully as possible, as diplomatically as possible, and just understand that there's always going to be an oddball or somebody who just socially is awkward and doesn't understand social cues. And
have you ever taken a picture in a bathroom with like wet and shook hands with the hands wet? Still?
I've done the wet handshake for sure.
Yeah, I did too.
Which I don't like. You know, I always try to do a fist bump.
Yeah, I say like, hey, that's why I say, oh, let's take the picture when outside the bathroom.
Right, and I think you also it's an acquired skill to learn how to handle these things.
Oh yeah, well you gotta be respectful. You gotta make people happy, like I said, but you gotta have your own boundaries too.
Yeah, you have to. We were running to the front for finals, and you know, I think those seats cleared for us up front, and you were like, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
We're beeline, and somebody as I was walking by asked for a photo. I said, hey, I can't right now, but find me later. Yeah. Find me. And I pointed. I said, "Fucking find me."
Did he find you?
And he did. He found me. And we got a photo. Yeah.
Perfect.
So it was just like I felt so guilty. And I remember I went up and got pee, or went to go pee, and I was like, I should find this kid. Yeah, so I was kind of just trying to hunt, and I couldn't end up finding him. But yeah, I felt bad. But yeah, sometimes it's not always. You're not always able to do it, but how you handle those moments where you may not have the ability to stop and.
Most people understand if you're like, hey, can we take a picture?
Hey, everybody's human. Everyone's been there. Everyone has had responsibilities. Everyone's had time crunches. Everyone's been in positions where it's like I can't necessarily stop and take a photo. But
everyone pees.
Yeah,
everyone pees.
So you are 6.5 weeks out from your pro debut.
Yeah.
How is prep going?
It's going really good. Honestly, I think maybe being here and feeling like the energy of all this, and then you know, the distraction of like constantly working. We're filming and podcasting, and then we went and, you know, went to Niagara Falls yesterday, which thank you for that. It was so much fun, man. It was really cool. But, you know, I think that's kind of a, you know, maybe a little bit of a lesson. It's like, keep yourself occupied.
Yeah.
You know, stay busy. And I mean, I didn't really have the time to think about food yesterday. We were just on the go.
Yeah, you're stimulated, right?
Yeah.
So do you usually like typically when you prep, are you usually like locked in, don't leave the house?
Yeah.
Just, you know, or are you okay to do a little bit of traveling or staying?
To be honest, I mean, every other prep I've had, I was never a sponsored athlete, so I didn't travel. I mean, I was with Hostile in the beginning of that that nationals prep, but I didn't travel with them during that time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've always just kind of been at home and head down and training at my home base, which there's definitely value to that, you know, staying locked in. And yeah, I'm eager to get home and kind of finish this prep strong.
Yeah.
But being able to come here, it kind of sparked a new, you know, fire under my ass where you see all these other guys, and it's not very often that you walk around the gym floor and see multiple pros in one place, you know, and
even seeing you here and like your energy, you're very positive. You're still training hard. You're getting your cardio and you're still checking off all the boxes.
Yeah.
You seem to be having a good time.
Definitely. And it can be done. I think a lot of people feel like they can't do that. I mean, you guys obviously booked me a spot that has a full kitchen. There's a, you know, little cardio room with a bike. So I'm able to go down, blaze my cardio. I'm staying on track.
Yeah.
No problem.
As long as you plan accordingly, right? You got to make sure if you are going somewhere, you have, you know, everything. You just, you know, you're good at that. Whenever we travel, you make sure everything's.
Well, I mean, that's an acquired skill. I've traveled, you know, during my off season where, you know, you're not prepared, and it is easy to slip up, you know. And but like, you know, you learn over time. You're like, as soon as I land, I'm Instacarting all my food. I'm buying a rice cooker. I bought like a $30 rice cooker. I actually bought a new nonstick pan because the pans always suck at every Airbnb you go to. You know, little things that make you feel like you're at home. Some like small amenities that are a low cost thing that just provide, you know, a little bit of comfort. Yeah, you know,
the best is driving somewhere. When I drive, like when I went to Chicago, I load up the truck,
the plug-in cooler.
Yeah. I got a giant cooler. Yeah, it's just everything. Like, but yeah, it just requires a little bit of spending when you travel.
Yeah, it does.
But you can make it. So
yeah.
When did you and Matt start prepping for Chicago Pro? How many weeks out?
I think at 24 weeks out, we started bringing down food. Okay. Food was really high through the off season, and I think I always struggle with appetite. So I think it was more about getting my appetite in a good place to where we had control of my body. Yeah. So at 24 weeks out, we made a pretty like aggressive cut, and then, you know, we were already having like high days in place by 20 weeks out. Okay. And I think, you know, pulling back to where digestion's optimized, I'm actually utilizing all my food, and I think that's something that people undervalue in even like an off-season setting. It's like if you're constantly bloated, you're constantly force feeding food, how much of this is your body actually utilizing, and how much, you know, internal stress are you creating by just pile driving food? You know,
and you had like a really long off season, right? So
how
long of your off season, how long of that would you say like you found yourself force feeding, or maybe being inflamed, or maybe like, oh my gosh, I really want to do a cut or start prepping because I'm just like, I'm so heavy. It's a lot.
Yeah. Right? I mean, I think you know this. In bodybuilding, there has to be extremes of both ends, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the extremes of dieting, and coming all the way down, fucking starving, and then you just have to tip that point where you're not hungry. You're pushing calories to a point that it's unsustainable, and then it's a game of push and pull, right? You know, I think it's you can't continuously redline, and then you also can't stay in this deficit where, like right now, food goes down fast, digest well, I feel good. Almost, you know, training is almost better right now than it is full off season because I can bend down, grab the barbell, and I'm not, you know, dealing with the gut. I'm not, you know.
Yeah.
So like, but you have to push things. So Matt does a really good job of paying attention to his athletes. Every check-in, you know, he makes sure I tell him how I'm feeling, but he'll check in with me just through the week. Like, how are you feeling, man? Are you like any hunger markers between meals? You're waking up hungry. How are you feeling? You really pushing down that last meal? Like at a certain point, we pulled down to 5 meals just to
give a little break.
Yeah, just give a little bit of break. And it was kind of a constant game of push and pull to make sure that we didn't spend too much time redlining and you know, we've all seen the effects of that. We see, guys end up with distended stomachs, lines start blurring, and there's.
And I think more than anything, when you keep on pushing and you think, oh, I got to keep on pushing calories, I got to grow, and you don't take that step back to back off with the push and pull, I think what ends up happening is your training ends up suffering because you get so much
That's it, man.
inflammation. Oh, your joints end up hurting, your knees hurt, elbows hurt.
Well, I don't think a lot of people recognize that is from, maybe not fully from just like stress within the gut, but like that inflammation that you're talking about is systemic.
Yeah.
And it starts in the gut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's really important to know when to push and pull.
Yeah.
Also, like I always wondered when people are like really pushing the calorie, like redlining, like you say, that's a good word for that. I wonder if they should check their blood sugar levels before every meal.
Yeah, you should.
You think it's like,
or at least wake up fasted, check your blood sugar.
You think it's below 5 when they force feeding like that? No way. Because I was like trying to eat just a normal amount of food. I was like, damn, it's like my blood sugar's not going back down.
And you know what most times you'll realize is that you'll pull back on food, maybe pull back 10% on overall calories, and you don't lose weight. You start getting hungrier, you feel better, and you're not necessarily dropping weight. And then you reintroduce calories, and then body weight starts climbing.
Yeah.
It's like you'll find that place where you're just like, you could not even imagine eating another gram of rice, and your body weight just won't move.
Yeah.
And then you pull back, and then you just slowly introduce, and you're still eating less than what you were, but now you're gaining.
Yeah.
And I think that just speaks to the efficiency of your body. Your body, you got to listen to that type of stuff.
Yeah, the response, right?
I really wonder what's the actual best formula that exists ever. Like, if like God knows it, like that's it. And then, does somebody have it?
I think
already?
there is something though to like during an off season or that phase. If you do, I think the reason why you grow so easily, say post show, is because of the calorie deficit, all the cardio. Your blood glucose is at the all-time best.
Insulin sensitivity.
Yeah,
I mean,
your insulin sensitivity. So when you start introducing all those the foods and the calories, your body is utilizing them the most efficiently it can possibly use it. Now, the longer you start eating and then you eat shit, and now your insulin sensitivity goes down, your blood glucose,
fat.
And now you start the food you're eating, you're more likely to put on body fat. Your muscle's not using it for fuel. So I think the longer you can keep that going, the more lean muscle you're going to put on and minimize fat, right?
I think a lot of guys under prioritize appetite, and I even see it with my own clients. I'm like, you're hungry between meals, good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see that because you're still gaining 1 to 2 pounds a week. Body composition's in a good place, and you want your food. Your body wants food.
Yeah,
just tells me you're utilizing the food that we're giving you. I'm in no rush to make changes because it's working.
Yeah,
and I think we've all been guilty of it. You're like, I could eat more. I should be eating more.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. And honestly, we've all seen it where you're like, I feel like I'm 12 weeks out and I'm growing more than I grew in my off season.
Because efficiency.
Your
body is way more efficient. And I think Nick is at that stage now in his career, right? Yeah. Where he's sort of just probably eating a little above maintenance calories. He's not in that stage where he needs to put on a lot of mass.
Yeah.
And you can see how efficient he is, right?
Definitely. And we've also been around Nick to know how much fucking food that guy can eat.
Yeah.
He can't.
He's still hungry. He has an appetite.
Yeah, it's good.
So he's very, very efficient. But I'm sure there was a time in his career when him and Matt were really pushing the calories.
Have to.
So it's like you always got to everyone's at a different spot in their, career.
Right. It's definitely not a one size fits all approach. And honestly, as things progress, like this off season was different than last off season, and next off season will be different as well.
Yeah.
That's right. As your body changes. I mean, you even talked about that yesterday. We're talking about dieting, how low my food is and how it's gotten, historically, like maybe as things progress and you have the tissue. Yeah.
That's nice.
I have not made a food adjustment. I think I have to look at my plan, but I don't think we've adjusted food for the last 7-8 weeks. Wow. But I've just been, honestly, I haven't really been dropping a whole lot of weight, but just body composition's been changing.
Yeah, there was even preps with Antoine where we dropped your food far out just to get his blood glucose and insulin sensitivity better, and then we hired it as we went, right?
Yeah,
I remember
Matt actually did that. We added a meal because I had five meals at the end of my off season.
Yeah,
we lowered things pretty drastically, and then a few weeks ago we added a 6th meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then even adding another meal, I seen no negative impact in my weight loss trajectory or body fat loss trajectory.
Yeah. That's great.
So what's the thing you love the most about off season and hate the most about off season, and then same for prep?
You know what? I think in an off season setting, what I really appreciate, and this is something that Matt values, and I appreciate this a lot, is maintaining some normalcy with my wife. Being able to have those date nights, you know what I mean? Being able to schedule a brunch with your wife on a Sunday and go out and just feel like things are normal. Cause we live in a box, man. You know, like obviously Jasmine bodybuilds, she eats 5-6 meals a day, trains 5 times a week, but there's so much value, I think, in being able to detach from that and just enjoy some company being normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we'll go to brunch and on a Sunday and pig the fuck out, go home and take a big nap. And maybe we had 3 meals that day. We just watch a movie at night and you're like, today was just a day that we just acted normal, you know? And then you'll find on the back end of that, you're like, oh, let's fucking nail it tomorrow. You know, and you kind of get in this groove. But I think a lot of guys, like I have some athletes where I'll give them a cheat meal in the week and then they'll be like, yeah, I had a burger and fries after legs last night. I'm like, you're married, right? Like, what's your wife think? Like, I need you to take your wife to sushi this weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go out to a steakhouse and go have dinner and dessert and go to the movies.
Yeah.
Have some popcorn and candy. Like just take your wife out, prioritize your home life. And I think that there's so much value in that because when your home life is good and your relationships are good, everything works better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have had guys come back with feedback like, hey, you know, I took my wife out to dinner and she really appreciated it. I'm like, yeah, no shit. You know, like she, you know, you've been coming home with, you know, in and out and she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, and most of these guys, not everyone has a partner that is also doing this or understands. It's a very obscure thing. It's not a normal thing for us to be watching the clock and every 2 hours microwaving a meal and then disappearing for 2.5 hours every day to the gym and then coming home. It's like, you know, so you have to make sure to prioritize those things and make sure your home life is good. And during the off season, I like to take advantage of that. But aside from that, obviously just, you know, getting stronger and being progressive in the gym and, you know, that game of push and pull, it's fun watching your body respond. You know, it's just an interesting thing that you could, if you're actually in tune with your body and kind of seeing the changes and seeing how you based on response and you know, if you're really obsessed and into this stuff, like that process can be fun too, you know? Yeah. Because obviously it's always fun watching your body change as you're coming down, you know, you're looking in the mirror, you see these changes, but you know, you can track that same progress through an off season. I think a lot of people get lost in that. Yeah. And just constantly want to diet.
Yeah.
Just less drastic, you know? Off season.
But what do you think is a more challenging feeling? Peak of off season, not being able to eat a meal and being stuffed. And just the thought of food, you're just like, oh man, like you just feel sick. Or peak of the prep where you're starving and you can't sleep.
I think peak of the off season is the worst.
Yeah.
Like that's no fun.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why you go to these, let's just say you go to a local show that you go to every year, and I'm sure you guys see it, maybe a Toronto Pro qualifier. Every year you go, there's always that light heavy that's there every year. And you're like, dude, you've been a light heavy for 5 years. You know what I mean? And it's because that guy maybe needs to take an 18-month off season and really push and just get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where the growth is. Like you have to spend those extended phases of higher body fat, higher calories. And one thing I tell my guys, I'm like, just focus on being the absolute strongest version of yourself in the gym and just stick your fucking head down and work. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I think that's a good measure, right? Is always measuring performance and recovery.
Absolutely.
In the gym,
yeah.
You know,
yeah. And
progress.
I think we talked about it too, is like, there's a lot of focus on frequency right now. You know, this gentleman right behind you, Dorian, that guy trained 4 days a week, 45-hour-long sessions, 45-minute-hour-long sessions, 4 days a week.
Intensity of those sets.
Yeah, and it was what he was able to allocate towards those sets and what he was able to do outside of the gym. Recovering.
There's a response he created with those sets, right? And then outside the gym was him fueling himself to recover from those crazy sets that he put himself through.
I mean, you know, the tissue isn't built in the gym. It's built at home when you're recovering.
Yeah.
I've always wondered that. I want to know your opinion. What if Dorian Yates did Jay Cutler's program and Jay Cutler did Dorian Yates' program, or, you know, vice versa?
You know, it's one of those things that's so hard to quantify, but I can't help but feel like maybe there could have been some value for Jay to pull things back. And, you know, but I mean, Jay was so good. How do you say that, right? You know?
You think it's always better to pull back for us with that extreme mentality than because I know for me, I tend to like just overdo it sometimes, and I've tried to like pull back, but I've always wondered like because he really believed in the high intensity stuff. Jay never went to failure, but like had this like 2 reps shy of failure with heavy weight for 5 sets. You know, like
it wasn't that Jay wasn't progressive in the gym. It wasn't that Jay didn't lift heavy. Jay did a higher volume approach, but what I see, and you might see this as well, a lot of guys that prescribe to a high volume approach, what you'll see is 3 warm-up sets of 10 that are sub-maximal, not necessarily enough to build any muscle or break down any tissue, no cause for stimulus there. And then they'll go 1 all-out set. And I'm like, that wasn't 4 sets. That was actually 1 set. You just did 3 sets of 10 warming up.
Wasted more energy.
And what I see out of that is a diminishing return due to the waste of energy on those sets.
Yeah.
You know?
I think where the risk of injury comes when people think about Dorian Yates style of training, and we talked about this yesterday, and it's more in the execution, right? People think, I'm going to train till failure, right? But that's all relative. If you look at Justin train till failure, you look at Nick train to failure, and me and Justin talked about this yesterday, and Nick, we were doing incline dumbbell press, and he did the 180-pound dumbbell presses, and he went for failure, and he got 8 reps. But the way he did those 180-pound dumbbell presses, you know, I did 140s that day. In order for me to do what Nick did with the form and execution, I probably needed to lower my weight by 30 pounds and do like 110s. If Nick wanted to grab 220s, and till failure, I did those till failure, but he'd be putting his elbows at risk, his shoulders at risk. So they're still very meticulous in their form and execution.
It's the stress on the ligaments and then obviously, you know, using the other body parts as front delts are getting involved. I think the term progressive overload gets really misconstrued, and the idea of it is just hyper focused on load, and that's just not really the only metric to gauge progression. You know, I mean, I can do 5 plates on the hack squat 1 week for 12, and the next week I can do it for 10 reps. But I did it with a 5-second negative or 3-second negative, and to me, that's progression. If I know at the end of that set that I did something to quantifiably progress the set, even if it's the same exact weight, same exact reps, then it's progression.
Like the week before, if you did 5 plates, it took you 45 seconds to do it, and the next week,
minute 20.
Yeah, minute 20.
That's an increase of time under tension.
Time under tension.
Yeah. So. And I think we even talked about this. Sometimes progress can occur going like, well, I've been within this program, in this structure, 8 working sets for this workout. I threw in 1/9 set of like a cable fly at the end of my workout. Well, that's being progressive.
Yeah.
Because you did just add an additional set within that session. Yeah. And that is more stimulus. That is more cause for adaptation. And as long as you're recovering from that, there's value in that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why like progressive overload sometimes I've noticed as of late has gotten a little bit of negative like talk.
It's a bit stigmatic.
Yeah. But I think it's because people think progressive overload means just keep on adding more weight to the bar and more reps.
Right. Which is just, you know, I think it's just, you know, it's just a lack of understanding. And if you've never really grabbed your logbook and logged every session that you've ever done and tracked these trends, I can look at my Instagram and watch myself hack squatting more weight than I am now 2 years ago. But I'm doing it better. I'm doing it better. I progressed.
Yeah. Your legs are bigger.
Yeah, my legs are bigger. Yeah. And you know, and trust me, I could go back to those execution parameters. I could come down a little faster, and I could not pause in the hole. I could rapid fire in and out a little bit, and I could use more weight than I was using 2 years ago. I know I'm stronger.
Yeah.
But that's not the name of the game. I really like chasing. Yeah, I really like chasing these perfect sets, and I really like honing in on execution. Because, I mean, one, we talk about, you know, obviously we want to build muscle, and we want to do things the most efficient way, and I think we want to be precise, and I want to load the target muscle groups, but I've just become obsessed with chasing these perfect sets. And I think if you can wire yourself to enjoy that process, there's such a return on investment.
You're going into your workouts like with a sniper rifle, where a lot of people are going to their workouts with a shotgun.
Yeah, right? and listen, I do think ultimately you have to cater your workouts and your training style to what you enjoy. Yeah. And if you don't enjoy training how I'm training, then it's probably not going to work for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I have come to enjoy this, and I absolutely love it. but I don't think maybe it's not for everybody.
Yeah, for the average person, I think just picking the training style that you really enjoy doing,
right,
and you're going to do it and do it well, it's going to be.
But if you're a guy who's like, yeah, I don't really know, how I should be training. I mean, maybe just look at the landscape. You know what I mean, and try to identify what you think is the most practical. And I think that when I look at I can tell you exactly why I'm only doing 2 sets here. I can tell you exactly, why I'm doing these certain execution parameters, whether it be a 3-second negative or a pause in the hole. I'm like, hey, I'm pausing at the bottom of the squat because I want to spend more time in the lengthened range and really load the quads while they're lengthened. And, I can kind of break down the nuances of why I'm doing things. And a lot of times, you can ask somebody like, why are you training a high volume approach? Like,
yeah, they're like, I don't know. Yeah.
A pump.
Yeah. It's funny too. I've noticed like over the last like year or two, it's just like how so many good athletes don't even understand. Like, I wrote one of our friends just about leg training because I watched them doing a video and their trainer was in the background going, all quads, and pushing him to the reps. There was zero knee flexion.
It's like
he was literally dropping back in the hole, hamstrings and glutes. He's got phenomenal hamstrings and glutes, and he doesn't have bad quads, but they're not nearly as good as hams and glutes. So I had to message him. I was just like, hey man, like all quads, you need deflection.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People don't even know that.
No, they don't. And like a lot of times you see a guy on stage, you're like, I can tell the way that guy squats just by the way he's built.
They're just sitting back and the knee.
Walking with the ass.
Well, and I think that's also like, I get asked a lot why I don't do like free weight barbell squats, why I prefer like a hack or a pendulum.
Yeah.
And it's because of
easier
the ability
to isolate the muscle.
Yeah, easier to isolate the muscle. I get more knee flexion. I'm able to put my feet nice and low on the platform, bury drive my knees over my toes. And I find
hamstrings are in the calves and you got that crazy stretch and length in the quad.
I find with a barbell movement, I'm just not, maybe my limb lengths aren't great for it. My leverages aren't good for it. And for whatever reason, I tend to load my low back, shoot my glutes back. And it's just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get stuck like, hey, you got to squat. Well, maybe.
I think
maybe squats work
really
good for you.
Short, like thighs, like say Ben Pekulski, when you watch him squat, it's like a thing of beauty.
Some people are just built for it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people can maintain their back is perfectly upright, knees shoot over their toes.
Perfectly upright and just like in the range of motion small too because he's got,
But then you see a guy that's got a femur that's this much longer where you can just see it's just driving their pelvis backwards.
Lower back is just taking it.
I look at my fiance doing a squat. She has like femurs long like that. And I'm like, I don't even know how to fucking teach her how to do a proper squat.
For her. It's not for her.
No,
and that's okay. I think people need to spend more time. And there's also a stigma behind filming yourself in the gym, right? Like, oh, no, I tell my clients, like, I need you to film yourself. I need you to send me videos, but also more importantly, I want you to watch your training and I want you to hone in. Sometimes you don't understand. You feel like you do something. You're like, oh, that felt great. And then you watch, you go, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And for me personally, that's how I've improved my training is I filmed every single working set for like 2 years where I just watched everything and obsessed over movement patterns and honed in on these things. And, where you think, maybe your arm path on a lat pull down, maybe you feel like you're really digging into your lat, but then you watch, you're like, wow, I was really kind of nailing my teres there. You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe you're not as in tune mind muscle connection wise, because obviously until you're a little more advanced, maybe you're not able to feel and connect the way someone is who's, maybe in our place where we've been doing this for long enough. Yeah. So watch yourself, film yourself, and be critical.
Yeah, and that's true because you can see it like that. Do you know how many of his matches and how many times Mike Tyson watched boxing matches on TV?
Well, I always talk about like, I'm not a big sports guy, but you don't think that, NFL guys are watching plays constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as a pro athlete, you do everything you can to like...
It's your homework.
The training, I think, is another thing that is under prioritized. There's like, I'll just go work hard. Like, listen, you can go and kill yourself in the gym and it could not be valuable.
Yeah.
Like, you can go put in a really hard workout and it's just misdirected effort.
Yeah.
And you go, oh man, I know you worked really hard, but you didn't really hit your lats one time in the whole workout. Or like you trained legs, you're like, you really didn't actually train your quads.
You just burned calories.
Yeah. So I think, obviously effort effort is number one. I think it's one of those things that it's really hard to teach someone to train hard. So you see these guys, there's two sides of the spectrum. We see these guys that will train perfectly, but you're not training with enough load to cause any stimulus for adaptation, for growth. You're also just not training hard enough. Like you really have to be able to lock in and take a set to failure, especially if we're talking about like a low volume approach, right? You know, the Dorian Yates style, you got to know how to go there. And some people don't recognize that they're not there. They think they're there. And you go, wow, man, you really actually had like 5 more reps.
No, you need that like execution. When you learn something, you execute it properly, and then you're able to apply intensity to it. That's when you really, really start growing and making progress. Like I just trained Kimberly legs the other day, and I was explaining that to her. I was like, yo, like I want to just like teach you proper technique. So once you learn the technique, then when you start applying, intensity to it, you're going to be able to really grow. And I think there are some individuals, and I think that's what happens is a lot of people look at, the genetic freaks of the world, and they see, some of these guys that are really strong, like let's say Keon or this person or that person, whoever it is, right? And they train very intense, right? Very heavy. But what they need to understand is that person is a genetic freak. And their nervous system is firing like crazy. It might not look like they're doing it properly, but you go to feel that muscle, it is turned on. It's activated.
Right. So like you watch a guy like, let's just say Derek Lunsford, you watch him do, a cable row. He's not going to be doing it the way I'm going to be doing it. He's not going to be holding in the contraction, controlling the guy might be a little bit more ballistic, and he might be firing in and out of those end ranges where I might prefer to spend a little time in the end range. But this is what I've found that my body needs. A guy like Derek, he doesn't need that to grow his back. His back is going to grow no matter what the fuck he does. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're talking all about this stuff is like high-level athletes, bodybuilding, who want to really improve weak body parts. But the average person who goes to the gym, they're going to do a row. Their whole back is going to work, but they're not going to be able to target. But that's not important. The best thing is that you go to the gym, you work hard, you have effort. And if you're not doing all this technical stuff, it's fine. Just show up and pump up. That's the most important because
have fun with it, right? Exactly. You know what I mean? I think a lot of these people get stuck in like the nuances of training styles where they might be doing a single arm row and really digging, and it's just like maybe you're not quite there yet. You know what I mean? This is like it's like the icing on the cake, but you haven't built the cake yet. You know what I mean? So just worry about getting in the gym, enjoying yourself, and you will build a base, like especially if you're just getting into this, like the first 2 years in the gym doesn't really matter what you do. You're going to respond. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you're listening to this anyway, you love training, you love bodybuilding, you're showing up to the gym. So that's already very good. This is all just technical stuff. Like even me, when I'm training back, I'm still like trying to find the best way after like 20 years of training. Dude. It's always a constant learning curve for me.
This prep in general, I was just talking to you about like how I'm kind of sitting rotated. This prep, I was just doing a single arm pull down on the lat pull down. And I just like shifted my body like this because I have a tendency to rotate this way. And I pulled into my lat and I was like, oh, there it is. I just spent the last year of this off season like missing this lat. And it was just like this minor rotation and like it just sit a little bit taller, like, oh fuck. Like there it is. You know what I mean? So like as even as like detailed as I am and as in tune as I am.
You still miss things.
Yeah. And then, at the end of this prep, I'm like, I can't wait for my off season because I feel like through this prep I really kind of dialed in these little things. Like we're always learning, right? We're always like even you to this day. I mean, how long have you been doing this, Dorian?
Oh my gosh, since I was training since I was 13, I'm 36, so how many years is that?
Yeah.
It's like a long time.
That's 23 years.
I hired like my first coach when I was 17. And so.
Who was it?
Oh my gosh. It was someone local, but like the first big coach I worked with, man, I think it might have been Hani when I was 22.
Cito?
No, it was Hani.
Wow.
Off season. Yeah.
Wait, so all the top coaches that are kind of famous, which one have you hired, Dorian?
Oh my gosh, it's hard. So Hani, Aceto for a couple of years. There was Neil Hill. There was Milos. There was Lane Norton. There was, probably George Farah, like everyone.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, pretty much everyone. Until, obviously, probably 2012. Patur, Patrick. Until, the Jansons and those guys started coming on the scene, and then I started coaching myself, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about it, huh?
But, here you're talking about 23 years of training, and even yesterday when we were training chest, it's like, we're still just like finding
Yeah.
angles and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like fuck, how many times have you done a chest press?
I know,
But you're training
I
with
know.
Nick a few weeks ago and you're like, man, the way Nick just moved, like you're still learning and adapting and evolving. And listen, as you continue to grow and put on muscle, your body's going to move differently, right? Like we all know that right now when we deadlift is different than when we deadlifted 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Our body's different. Our leverages are different. Getting to the bar is different. So you need to constantly evolve and adapt as your body
I am
changes.
shocked. Like when I did back the other day, you guys were beside us and I was doing the Watson pull down. I cannot believe my mind muscle connection now when I train back, just working with Eric and just really understanding, you know, where the traps are, where the teres is, where the lats are, just understanding how they move in directions. Right. Now when I get in movements, I can make my back like cramp.
Well,
when
you
I
know
protract and open, I'm like, and I never was able to do that. Here I've been training for this long and I just learned this.
Yeah. And you have these guys that will pinpoint these science dorks and will be very highly critical of, people who are really focused on biomechanics. But listen, the simple fact is biomechanics is science. You know what I mean? And sometimes the difference between a neutral spine digging into your lat and then just a small arch in your spine, you can feel those subtle nuances and it creates such a difference, right?
Different response.
Where somebody's might be arching and digging in their lat and you have them tuck their sternum a little bit.
Yeah.
And now their lat's firing and immediately your lat's pumped. You're like, well, there you go. And it can be such a small, subtle difference. And I think that kind of doubles back to like filming yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and paying attention to these things and having a good training partner. I think I was training hamstrings with Antoine. Yeah, with what's his name over here. And I was like,
his hamstrings are okay.
I was like, he's phenomenal legs. But I was getting some pain through the front of my knee as I'm hamstring curling. And it's something that's been bothering me. And he was just like, bring your leg in. And I just brought my leg in.
Oh, you were tracking like this?
So I have a tendency to track my hips out, right? So I'm kind of in here. And it's like I didn't notice.
You didn't know until someone told you.
I didn't notice. He just grabbed my feet and moved them in and pointed my toes up and kind of kept me in line.
Always.
And then I had my first pain-free hamstring curl set in months.
Yeah, you always want to make sure on all those movements, your feet, knees, and hips, it's like a train track.
Yeah.
Wherever direction.
But listen, as much as like I know that. I know that. But I didn't see it.
Wow.
But as I'm sitting here, he just like brought my feet in.
Yeah.
And I was like immediately.
Feel conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I did break this leg some years back. I broke my femur. I actually broke my femur in 3 places. The femoral head completely off. I got hit by a car. It was pretty brutal.
Yikes.
Oh
But since then, I've just kind of had this foot just likes to hang out like this.
That's why the scar there's that on the other knee too.
Yeah. So this scar coming up my quad right here.
Damn.
And then the scar on my tibia.
All open up, fucking blood gushing.
Yeah. It was it didn't have a compound fracture. So what
How
happened?
old were you?
I was 25, I think.
What?
How old you know?
You did
35?
that when you were 25?
Yeah.
That's amazing that you healed from that, and it's not.
Well,
like
look, I think it's a choice, man.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It was one of those like so I was riding my bike downhill. My brother and I were kind of like hill bombing with a couple of my friends.
BMX, right?
Yep, BMX bike, and it's one of the main strip in our town. There's a northbound, southbound, and I'm blazing down this road. And we're tucked. Gearing's maxed out on my bike. I couldn't pedal faster if I wanted to pedal. And eyes are water and I'm fucking cooking. And I come around this blind corner and I'm right here in the bike lane. And I'm opposing traffic, right? So I see this car coming up and they're in the middle of the lane and they do this thing where they kind of merge lanes. They shift from the middle lane to the left lane as they're going around the corner, you know? And I think it was right before I was going to pass this person. They yanked the wheel towards me. Like they seen me, panicked, ripped the wheel towards me. I run head on right into this car, face first into the car. And I end up going in the windshield and just plopping down right in front of the car. And I look down and I'm wearing some shorts and immediately my leg is just a balloon. My leg's tweaked and my leg is just
Right
huge.
away.
Immediately.
full of blood.
Whoa.
And I stick my hand behind my neck. What the fuck? In my arm. I mean, I've got blood just dripping all the way down my arm. Because something, I think it was the windshield wiper looking at pictures, cut the back of my neck and it hit my carotid artery.
Oh, your artery?
Yeah, so it hit my artery. So I'm laying on the ground. I broke my femur here, and then these two pieces broke in half. And then I broke the femoral head completely off. Then I also broke my tibia. So I just I hit it from the side like this, and it just completely crunched that left side.
What about the other knee there? Is that a scar? Or
so this,
the right one?
Oh, this one right here. This actually did happen in the same accident.
Okay.
So something, I think actually, if you look at my bike, the gusset on the front of my frame buckled, and that weld, if I still have the frame like at my parents' house hanging up.
Oh shit!
There was like a chunk of skin and hair and everything stuck to the bike. Yeah.
Still there?
I don't think it's still there. It might have deteriorated by now, but yeah. So that was like filleted open.
With the back of your neck with the artery there, how did you survive that?
So I ended up losing. Well, they had to give me. I put a little over 6 units of blood back in me. And you say you have about 7 to 10 units in the healthy male body, right? So I really almost bled out and died.
Like
yeah, the amount of blood I lost was absurd. So I mean, did
you pass out?
I didn't, and I was like, praying that I was going to pass out. They're loading me up on the stretcher, and I'm just like, holy fuck! I just want please pass out, go into shock. But I'm glad I didn't. That might have been it, right? So when they rushed me into surgery.
Was it really painful? It
was very painful. Yeah. I mean, I was calm, but it was like...
What was the most painful thing that you felt in your body?
My leg, for sure.
Your leg was just...
Yeah,
burning.
this I didn't feel. My
sensation?
neck I didn't feel. It was just like, I just remember just fucking
Did
pressure
it feel like
and
it
pain.
exploded, burning, or it was pressure?
It was just pressure. You know, it's been 10 years. I don't exactly recall. I might be able to send him like a picture of my x-rays here.
It's insane, man.
I'll find it on my Instagram.
Is there any, like, can you tell in the muscular development of your thighs now? One's different?
You see this hole in my leg right there?
Okay.
Bit of a dip. I don't like to point it out because I don't want people to notice it. But
that's a striation, man.
Yeah, it's a striation. So when they did the surgery, those two pieces that were broken in half, one of them was attached to my femoral artery. So they couldn't attach it. So they just left this piece of bone floating out in my leg.
Oh my gosh.
So I have this rod from here up to my hip, a big bolt through my hip, and then this chunk of bone that's just floating.
You're awake during this?
No, I'm not awake during that surgery. Okay. No, they put me under. Let me see if I can, I'll have to dig back. It's pretty old, but.
When you woke up though, did you see the bone?
So there wasn't, I didn't have a compound fracture or anything like that. But when I woke up the next morning after the surgery, the surgeon came in. It's way down there. You're not going to be able to find it, but I'll send it. Who should I send it to?
Just send it in the message.
Okay, to Pure Muscle. Okay.
There you go.
So I woke up and the doctor like beelines for me, right? And first thing he does, he comes and touches my foot, and I watch him go. Whew. I was like, "What the fuck? You thought I was going to lose my leg?"
Yeah.
Like he was like there was blood flow. So what happened is the femur, the head of the femur broke below the Here, I can actually send this one to you.
Like below the artery?
Below the blood supply.
Okay.
So the blood supply from the hip past a certain point through the femur, there's no blood supply, right? So it broke above that. So the likelihood of having that blood flow continue through my leg was very low. So when but I didn't know any of that stuff. I just got rushed into surgery, and I woke up the next day here. Pure Muscle Radio or Pure Muscle and Fitness?
Radio.
I can't believe all this stuff happened to you, man.
Yeah, honestly, I got really lucky.
You're happy to be alive, period.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was one of those things like, yeah, there's the x-rays there. So you can see that gash in the side of my neck.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, and I wanted to, there you go, to show that, even though I fucked my leg up, you can still build big legs, right?
Now, you said also your tibia you broke too?
Yeah, so you can see right there, the tibia in the top left.
How is your dorsiflexion now?
My ankle flexion isn't great on that leg. It's something I struggle with.
Okay.
Dude,
yeah.
I got drop foot right now because I fucked up my perennial there.
Damn.
Oh, really?
So my one foot, I can't really move it.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It'll go away over time.
Yeah.
But it's
like, The Walking Dead.
So like this, I mean, if you got to talk about why I got into bodybuilding, it was this right here. So I was obviously riding my BMX bike, and that's what I did. I rode bikes. I rode BMX.
Yeah,
that was my thing. You know what I mean? I had friends that were professionals, and I was just that was what I was into. And I got in the gym because I was like, I need to rehab this fucking leg. I'm not going to sit around. I got to get in the gym, and I got to get stronger. And I didn't want to waste away.
Then you start growing like a fucking weed.
So I start growing. Yeah. And then like through this process, so you see that femur how it's broken in half. And then you can see those two pieces.
Yeah.
aren't connected. I might be able to find another X-ray, but that piece never connected. I got a non-union, right? So they had to pull that hardware out of my femur, and they had to replace it with bigger hardware. They had wallowing out the inside of my femur and doing like a bone fusion with the marrow from inside of my femur.
Wow.
So that whole process is about a year long. I was on crutches for about a year. So I had multiple surgeries in the gym on crutches for about a year, but during that whole time I'm in the gym. I'm just crutching into the gym. And I'm training upper body, and then it's like, I'm like, fuck, my arms are growing, you know, like cause I used to go to the gym. So this
was like sort of the first time you started training around 25?
So I did train a little bit before that, but it was like, man, I would go in and I would train abs and do bicep curls. Like, you know, just, you know, I wanted to have like big arms, you know, which is fun, you know, so that was it. It was I had no real knowledge of bodybuilding. I wasn't, you know, interested in that at all. I was a BMX kid. And so like honestly, the BMX lifestyle and bodybuilding, it's so anti. Those are just so not the same thing.
So do you have any video clips of you with the BMX?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do.
Kind of cool to pull that up.
It's crazy though. Like in the moment, it seems like, why is this happening to me? Right? It's a disaster, right? But then it's like that's what actually got
but now look at me. I
bodybuilding.
I have a career in bodybuilding. I'm here with you guys. Like, if none of that happened, then yeah. I mean, where would I be? You know, would I still be some guy, some 30-year-old, mid-30s guy trying to ride BMX? And where would that lead?
Did you know you didn't even start bodybuilding until he was 30?
Yeah, I did my first show at 31.
Only.
I know, he's 30. 31?
Yeah, it's 31 when I did my first show.
Again, you said?
He's our age, 36.
35.
35.
Oh, you're turning 36.
I'll be 36. Shut up.
So you're 87?
He's 87.
87, right?
Yeah,
87. Yeah.
87.
Yeah, maybe that should be the name of this segment.
Yeah.
87s.
See if I can find some old
87s.
You know, but I'll be honest, I think there was so much carryover from BMX, you know what I mean? Like I rode BMX for so long, and it teaches you so fucking much, man, because it's just one of those things, like, it's so fucking hard.
I'll humble you pretty quickly.
You know, everybody had a BMX bike. Everybody jumped a jump outside of their house as a kid. But how many people backflip them motherfuckers?
Yeah.
You know, so like I rode these things for 20 years, and maybe not 20 years. I think it was like 14 to 24, so about a little over 10 years.
Yeah.
And man, it just teaches you everything about like grit, determination, hard work, consistency.
So, but when you say BMX, like, is it more like tricking? And
yeah, like freestyle BMX. Okay. Yeah.
Because I had a specialized Fat Boy when I still have it.
That was my first bike, dude.
I still have it, dude.
Yeah, specialized 415 Fat Boy.
I still have it.
Yeah.
With
awesome,
the frame like this?
Yep, had the Y frame.
Still have it.
That's so cool, dude.
Mint.
Would you do more the stuff on the flat ground with the twisting stuff? Or
it was like I like, you know, street riding, grinding handrails, skate parks, things like that. I can send like.
But was a specialized Fat Boy? Was that more for BMX racing, or was that more for?
So that was definitely more of a like a race bike, but they kind of put out more of like a hybrid.
Yeah,
trying to get into like the freestyle world.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can.
Would you still be able to do some stuff right now, like the simple stuff?
You know, I could probably do some stuff. I'm gonna send you this this X-ray. So this was like me. When I realized I wasn't having that, I was having that non-union.
So the bone that was floating, have you kept it? Where is it?
Allow me find this real quick. Might have to edit some of this out while I tinker around.
So is it full bone now, or it's like there's still metal in your leg?
So I actually had all that hardware removed.
Once everything fused together.
So once I had a union, you can see right there. See that piece that's just like floating off?
Where is that piece? I want to know right now.
So right now, I'll pull up the other X-ray.
Where is that piece? You home in a jar or?
No, yeah. I had it extracted and I got it hanging.
Make a necklace.
Yeah.
So I'll show you. I should have an X-ray of it once it was healed, and it's just this big mass in my femur.
Oh no!
Yeah, here I'll show you now.
Did you grab it with your hand? Like, what is that? Like it would be like within the muscle, like just like chilling between the quadriceps.
So if I stand up and lean forward, you can see I can bulge it out.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. So there you can see like it all came together and
it fused.
Like how incredible is that, right? Like the human body is
back inside and just fused to itself.
Yep, and it ended up making a full union.
So now the chunk is still in there.
Yeah, and it's all just one big piece now. Good luck breaking that fucker now.
Exactly.
Wow, it's reinforced.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
Back to like getting that hardware pulled out. Here, I'll send you this. Here's me doing a backflip on my bike.
That's crazy.
Actually, here I actually have a video of the first time I ever did a backflip, and I totally eat shit.
Oh yeah, that's funny. You know what? With BMX and what you said about grit, because I've done tricking, which is on the grass, like martial arts stuff. We would drill and move 100 times before landing it for the first time, so that we'd fail. Then finally you land it. That's one of the best feelings. Right?
Well, yeah, here it is. Like you can see, this is me trying to back for the first time. And just kind of letting go, bailing. Yeah,
you bailed. You quit halfway.
You know, but it's like, okay, get up, go.
I would
like,
have been done.
You're scared shitless, but then like,
no, it's just shit. How many tries was that?
That was my second try. So I just tried it once and I let go, and then
you right away.
And then I'm fucking nailing it.
Do you understand that the fear of going backwards is like what keeps people from backflipping? Because it's actually mostly a fear thing, right?
It is, yeah, of course.
It looks so satisfying though when you land that.
Oh, it's an incredible feeling, and you know But I think you know this stuff. This is a game of patience, right? And I've talked about this before, where it's like I wanted to learn how to do a tail whip on my BMX bike. I went to the skate park and I tried tail whips every day, maybe 3-4 times a week for about 8 years before I landed one.
How much time per
I mean, you see my shins. My shins are beat to fuck from like slipping the pedal. Knees are beat. Like just
Man, you got more battle wounds than anyone I know.
the amount of like times I rolled my ankle or like bruised my heels and like fucked up my wrist. Like it's just like every day you're like, I just gotta go. You know, it's like people are like, oh man, I tried getting big, it didn't work. I'm like, how long did you try?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what do you give? You have spent 4 months in the gym, or like people just jump right on drugs and ran a cycle and it didn't get big. You're like, man, like I tried to learn a tail for a fucking decade before I landed that fucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How did you feel when you landed it?
Oh, it's undescribable.
Did you tell everybody? You had to.
Oh, of course, dude.
Call your
I mean,
mom.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so it's just I think it just taught me a lot about patience and hard work and
Not giving.
you know, return on investment, man.
Yeah, not giving.
You know,
Yeah.
slowly honing your craft. Let me
Yeah.
see. I have one more.
It is wild. People who like skateboarded or BMX like that in the street, they pretty much think they're like their body are so resilient. They're not afraid of getting hurt at all.
Yeah.
You know, they have a.
It's
They're more
definitely
like.
definitely a young man's
Yeah, if I
game.
would go to war, I would grab a bunch of BMX guys and skateboarders with other people because they're just not afraid, right?
Yeah,
That's cool. See that?
And just like
Whoosh.
taking a digger, eating shit, and then just getting
Get
back up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which
The front manual, is it called manual? Like when you
like that's like a hang 5 where my foot's on the front
that's
peg,
crazy.
and then the other one's like a
Backflips.
hang nothing where I have no
Funny.
feet on.
When I was competing years ago, there was this video online. It was like a motivational one. I forget who it was. I don't think it was Tony Hawk, but it was one of the skateboarders. I think maybe Derek something. But it was like a video of him, and he was at like one of the competitions, and he goes down and he tries, and like he eats fucking shit. But like, he kept on trying again until he like nailed it. And it was just like so inspiring to see somebody like just try, have so much heart, and just like fail and fail and fail, and then he nails it, and it's like holy shit.
Oh, it's so rewarding. And this is something that I learned at a really young age. You know, I was just like pedaling really fast at a jump over and over and over and over and over, you know, and going home with like, sometimes you go home with like that skinned up elbow and it's like a badge of honor. It feels fucking good to have that scab on your elbow. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, like I remember going to school and like my fucking knees all scabbed up. And you're like, feel
check
bad.
this shit out.
But it's fucking battle wounds, man.
Yeah.
You know, and like going to war every day, there's not enough people do things that are like intentionally that are difficult. Not enough people challenge themselves. And I think that's kind of like the beauty in bodybuilding, right? I think is like the self-mastery, is saying no to the beaver tails yesterday. You know what I mean? Like is like watching everyone enjoying themselves and you're like, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you feel good about yourself too, and you're in control, right?
I think, I kind of got into this at first and I thought, I loved the physiques and it was like really cosmetic and pretty and like the muscles really cool. And then you do a show and on the back end of that show, you're so fucking proud of yourself for what you did. And then you realize that's what this is about.
Yeah.
It's about doing something that's really fucking hard that, most people don't have the guts to do, finishing it. And then the pride you feel in yourself. That's what bodybuilding is about, man.
Inspiring other people. Right,
yeah. And then
the
like
way.
seeing my folks proud of me.
Yeah.
You know,
The moments I felt the proudest of myself is during those victories with
Yeah.
prep, because it's like all the effort, all the months and the weeks. And the thing is, all the efforts when there's no cameras, you're by yourself, nobody's watching.
Yeah.
And you could, in your head, like, no.
oh, dude, I was in the kitchen this morning by myself, and I seen Jasmine had that cookie you gave her,
Like, no
and it
one's
was a
gonna know.
half open package.
Yeah.
Nobody would know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have ate a chunk of that cookie, but I was just
No. It's all those camera-less, with no camera-free moments where you don't want to do it, and then you still go. And then all these months and weeks, and then not only you just make it, because making it is already a big achievement. That's
Right.
why people prep.
I know.
Even if they lose, they still feel proud where you've done your best. But then you win.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. There's no better feeling, right?
I've done, when I won my pro card, I'll always say that, but I've done all the drugs in the world, all right? There's not a better high than winning after doing a prep full of effort with like challenges and struggles where you still push through, then you win.
Yeah.
Like when I won my pro card, that was like probably the best high I've had ever. Like
Right.
I think the Cali Pro was also a big one too, to be honest.
That was amazing.
Yeah, Cali Pro was
Everything you went through and then
Oh, yeah.
going to that show and just
Yeah.
nailing it. And that
Yeah,
was
Chicago
crazy.
felt good too, but it was like, oh, I've done that already.
Yeah, you won. That was your first pro.
yeah,
win,
yeah. So,
right? So it was-
but these moments, it's a natural high that feels better than the
Yeah.
best drugs I've took.
And I think
Yeah.
people need to realize too, like knowing both your guys' sort of stories, you obviously going through drug addiction and you going through all these accidents and your hand when you were younger,
Yeah.
and all these challenges. I feel like people always, like, everyone has a story. Everyone has shit that happens to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you and I spoke and, we were speaking one time and you were like, I know in your head, you were like, man, what kind of bodybuilder would I have been if I didn't lose those years of my life?
About those 5 years,
Right,
yeah.
those 5 years, right? But I think, and even Justin is going to go back to that, I think you going through that drug addiction gave you the mental strength and perspective to be able to get into the condition and be the best bodybuilder you
sure.
can be. I don't think, were you capable of being one of the best bodybuilders in the world before drug addiction? Yes. Genetically, the amount of size you had. I don't know if mentally you were strong enough to be able to win pro shows to get to where you do now.
Probably not.
And even you,
Yeah.
right? Like you going through this, that's what got you into bodybuilding.
Man, that's what got me into bodybuilding. You talk about my hand as well. After that, like I was a 17-year-old kid who lost half his hand.
Dude, most people quit. Most people are like, I
listen,
can't BMX. I can't train.
Yeah.
You know?
I was so obsessed with BMX and like this is what I wanted to do. And I remember like I actually got like a weightlifting strap and was strapping to my handlebars because I couldn't quite hold on. I didn't have the strength in that hand.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I tried grinding a ledge, right? Because you got a bunny hop and like I tried grinding this ledge and I remember this vividly. And I was, 18 at the time. When I got out of the hospital, I was 95 pounds when I got out of the hospital.
Wow.
I was 17 years old. I went in at 155. I was a small kid already.
Still, man, losing 60
But I went,
pounds?
come out at 95 pounds. I tried to bunny hop and grind this ledge and my hand slipped off. And I remember as clear as day because it was the most discouraging moment ever. I hit myself in the throat and I go tumbling and rolling down this little hill and this little bank at the skate park. And I remember just laying there, bawling my eyes out. I was so upset because I had to bunny hop this high, man. This is as entry level as it gets. It's like benching the bar.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the fuck? And I was sitting there like, I couldn't breathe because I like punched myself in the throat and I'm on the ground, I'm crying. And it's easy to feel like a victim in that point and you go, fuck this, I'm over it.
Yeah.
Get up and try it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's like, I've had a lot of people that ask me because, I've told these stories before and I don't discuss these to inspire anybody, but I have inspired people, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me and they just like, hey man, how did you go through that and come out of the back end and continue to chase your dreams and do what you want to do? And my answer is always like, I just never felt like I had an option. What was my other option? Like just not
No, and I think
chasing my dreams, like not rehabilitating, like not giving this everything.
Even me, like I have some issues like a herniated disc and shit I've worked around, and I've had issues with my hands, like training over the years. And then I'm like, what the fuck am I complaining about? I'm like, Justin has 2 full fingers, and I'm complaining about I got full hands.
But listen,
Like,
it's all relative, right? Like now I have 2 fingers, but I've adapted. I've had these missing fingers for the last 15 years of my life.
Like everything else strengthened and sort of.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the size difference between these 2 fingers.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
You know what I mean? It's like this thing is way stronger. And like if I'm gonna open a pickle jar, I crank with this hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong, it has its limitations. Like if I'm gonna grab this coffee cup, I'm grabbing it with my left.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna grab with my.
You probably click really fucking strong.
Yeah, dude, I'm a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's something that people need to understand, right? It's like all the top athletes, all the best people in the world, they're all going through shit. Nothing's perfect. You know, you see Instagram, you see the highlight reel, but beneath all that, like everyone's got shit.
Everyone's got something.
Some people get lucky.
Yeah.
But you can tell in their where it suffers is their personality, I find.
Yeah.
Because I've always I told my fiance that is like I connect with people, and especially like with my fiance, right? Because I like to see that they suffered.
Well, you want to see their, you want to see their hardships.
Yeah.
So the overcoming the suffering makes them add so much color so much.
It elevates you as a human being.
So
and you gain perspective through that you wouldn't have otherwise had.
I always connect more with people who went through shit.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
You know, I've spent, months in the hospital. You know, when I had meningitis, I was in the ICU for 90 days, man.
Dude,
I had liver and kidney failure. I was on dialysis. I was in a coma for 2 weeks.
It's insane.
You know, and when you wake up out of those comas, it's not like in the movies where you wake up gasping for air. No, man, I woke up with life support tube down my throat. My dad was there over the top of me. I was horrified and no idea what was going on. My dad's telling me everything's okay. Everything's okay. And I remember looking at him like, no, it isn't.
Yeah,
Dad. Like I had no idea. Yeah, so I still had the life support breathing for me. So as I wake up, and and then I ended up passing out, and then I wake up, a few hours later, and the life support was pulled out, and but I remember that. I remember that fear. I remember trying to breathe, but I couldn't because this life support's breathing for me.
Oh, so
you can't take a breath in.
Panicking. You got to let it do it.
Oh, I had full blown panic. Yeah, I mean, like I can only imagine the look on my face at that point in time. Mm-hmm. You know, and but these are the things that ultimately can shape you into being a stronger person, or you can allow it to,
bring you down.
To bring you down. And listen, a lot of people become a victim of their circumstances, and I think that's we've already talked about this a few times. It is a choice.
Yeah.
You can look at yourself and go, well, why me? Fucking poor me, I'm a victim. Or you can go like, oh man, I got a hill to climb, man. Let's get walking.
You've brushed death twice.
Yeah, for sure.
Went to the hospital,
yeah, very close. When the meningitis thing it was bacterial meningitis. It was I think I talked to Dorian about it last night. It's
crazy.
I had liver and kidney failure. And that morning I was at home, and I remember getting up off the couch, walking to the bathroom, and I collapsed. And I lost all bowel control. I'm shitting, I'm pissing myself. My brother and my mom are there. My brother sets me on the toilet. And I remember I'm on the toilet. He had to hold me up because I didn't have the strength to hold myself up. I think at that time I was so dehydrated because I couldn't keep any fluids down. I remember my mom was giving me ice chips.
Your body's shutting down.
Yeah. So, it's oddly enough, I had a doctor's appointment that day, and we were going to go in at like 11 or something. But it went from like the day before feeling like I kind of had a flu, maybe a cold,
that quick,
to the next morning going
12 hours.
I was like, yeah, I just don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. Like, and then I was like, I'm not keeping down fluids. My mom was like, I think we got to go to the hospital. I was like, yeah, I got to go to the bathroom. And then I get up and I collapse. And then it was just steamrolled from there. And, my brother's holding me up as I'm on the toilet. And I remember telling him my mom was dying. I knew it. There was no fucking question in my mind. I was dying. I felt it. Yeah. I just knew 100%, internally I'm shutting down, and I was dying. Mm. When your internal organs start shutting down,
you don't get help.
Yeah. And then during that time, my brain swelling, right? So like I'm dealing with some brain swelling, and so I when I get to the hospital, I'm a bit confused. I don't quite know what's going on. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We end up rushing into the hospital. They hydrate me. I feel better because I'm getting hydrated, and they have to give me a spinal tap. So if you're not familiar, they do. They'll stick a needle about this big right into your spine. They have to hammer it in. So they tell me and my mom, and they say, you know, if this fluid comes out clear, then, you know, we're good. But if it comes out milky, like, then, you know, it is what we think it is. I think they thought it was meningitis. And sure enough, they pull it out and it's milky, and they rush me to the hospital in the next town. So they throw me in an ambulance, and I remember they strapped me across the ankles, they strapped me across the knees, the waist, the chest, and the forehead. They strapped me down, and they put a mask on me, and they're all wearing masks, right? And at this point in time, like I said, I'm dealing with some pretty severe brain swelling, and I'm like
delirious. I was
so fucking delirious, yeah, and I'm losing it, and I just remember flying on the freeway, and I just felt like I was just spinning.
Holy shit!
You know, and then I just remember getting to the hospital, being wheeled out, sun hitting me, and it was like then I was gone. And then I woke up 2 weeks later, and
so they didn't put you in a coma.
They put me in medically induced coma.
Wow.
And during that time, your body, it's just a defense mechanism. It takes blood flow to keep your heart and your brain going, and it'll attack the extremities, right? So it pulled from my fingers. Okay. So, you know, there was a bit of a breakout during that time in my area. A girl lost all of the toes on both of her feet. And I remember a gentleman lost his nose during that time. And I lost these 3 fingers. And it was like, I woke up, my fingers were black, like I had frostbite. Yeah. And I remember I wasn't aware of it at first. You know, they kind of kept my hands covered. So like I said, you don't wake up and you're just like sit up in your bed. I woke up like fully paralyzed from the neck down. You don't use those body parts. You don't use, you know, those neural pathways.
Yeah. You can't move them.
So, I mean, it was about a week before I was like wiggling my fingers. Yeah, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks, your legs don't move.
Oh, I was, completely.
Even blood supply to all his body probably wasn't there. Everything's turned off. Nervous system.
Yeah, I mean, it was full paralysis.
It's like, Antoine, do you ever like sleep in your shoulder and you lose blood? You lose blood to the shoulder.
And you're like,
I can't even move my arm. Whole body.
Yeah,
like that.
wow.
So like I do recall like about a week going by, and I was like telling my mom, I was like, look, Mom, I'm like wiggling my fingers, you know? So I mean, I was in the hospital for like 90 days during that time.
So you were, first 2 weeks you were asleep in a hospital, and then you were still another
90 days. Well, it was actually 60 days in the ICU, then another 30 days at another hospital doing like a rehab.
Rehabbing.
Crutches and stuff. Wow. Well, I'm glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so am I.
And during those 2 weeks where you were asleep, do you remember anything from that?
Yeah, so
dreaming, hallucinating.
I remember I have never had more vivid, horrifying dreams in my entire life.
Horrifying?
Oh, I was fighting for my life in every one of my dreams.
Wow.
Like, I mean, I think about it, it makes me emotional. It was,
wow.
I mean, they were horrifying.
Wow.
You know how real a dream can feel when you like fall asleep for 20 minutes on the couch?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, I was in a dream for 2 weeks.
It was like a living nightmare.
Yeah, and like the drugs they give me, I forget what drugs they were, like the sedation drugs. They're actually known to give you nightmares. Just one of those things.
There's nothing you can.
It's horrible. It's like
living in it.
Yeah. Like, you know, you don't get to snap out of this one. Like I had a dream that like my grandparents. I remember my grandparents. It was actually my cousin's grandparents, but it's like my grandparents had me like tied up in this room in their living room with barbed wire, and I'm in like a line of all these people, and we're all naked, and I'm wrapped in barbed wire, and like, you know, in every one of my dreams, I'm bound, I'm gagged.
Can't move.
Yeah, so it's just like the worst nightmare possible. And they were gassing this room. And it was like my grandparents. And I just remember that dream vividly, you know, like I was just like...
It's crazy.
It's horrible dreams. And then when I woke up out of that coma, I thought I was there because I was in a motorcycle accident. And you could not convince me otherwise. And I was like, no, I was in an accident.
Did you own one?
Yeah, I've always had a motorcycle, right? You know, so like I grew up riding motorcycles. My dad always had us dirt bikes as a kid. We'd go ride motorcycles every weekend in the woods in Oregon. And that's just kind of what I did. It's kind of what got me into BMX. And I've been on 2 wheels my whole life. Okay. But yeah, in this dream, I was involved in a motorcycle accident. And in my dream, I knocked out my teeth. And I remember my mom, like, she had to show, I was like, no, I don't have any teeth right now. And she had to show me a mirror, and I seen that I had my teeth, and I just was like bawling my eyes out because I was just like, I didn't understand.
Thought they were gone.
What's going on?
Isn't it crazy how powerful like the mind is, though?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. And I was so confused, and I remember it makes you like, you're overly emotional during that time and you don't really understand jokes, right? So one time there was this nurse that was there and she was like a hefty gal. And she told me I was going to have to wrestle her. I was going to have to get strong enough to wrestle her before I could get out of there. And she left the room and I started crying. I told my mom, I said, I can't wrestle her. I can't do it.
I'm not ready.
I was like, I can't do it, Mom. Yeah, and I'm sorry I get emotional about this because
super emotional.
It's the hardest time of your life.
Yeah, and I think about this because like it's like the first time I've reflected about this since my mom passed.
Yeah, it's like super hard.
Yeah, and like
especially with that person that was there, like a rock for you during all that.
Yeah, like it's just different thinking about that experience I shared with my mom.
Yeah.
Because at the time she quit her job. We had like a fifth wheel, like a toy hauler. You know, we'd always load up our motorcycles. We'd go to the dunes. We had our toy hauler. My mom brought this toy hauler to the hospital, and she lived in the hospital parking lot for fucking months, man. She was there every morning, every single morning, like never missed a day, fed me my breakfast every day for months.
It's crazy.
And man, I think back on that, and it's just
it's
tough. Because honestly, I've told this story a bunch of times. It's never really made me emotional.
No, well, especially going through that loss when someone that was such a rock for you during that time, right?
Well, good job, man. Especially with stuff like that.
Yeah, sorry, you guys.
No, don't be sorry. Props to your mom. Fuck.
Dude. Yeah, and I really think about like what they must have gone through as parents during that time.
Freaking hell. Your dad, when
you know,
woke
two weeks where you think that you might lose your son. Like
yeah.
Fucking those are the longest 2 weeks of your life. I can only imagine.
Yeah, but your parents and the way they acted in those times and how they treated you and they were there for you. I mean, that's what makes you like the person you are and the good morals you have and how compassionate you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's what shapes you. So it's,
yeah, man, it you just, when you see like how selfless my mom was in that, like, I know like sleeping and showering and like going to the bathroom every day in that trailer, it's a nightmare. It sucks. Yeah. She didn't go home, man. She was with me all day, every day.
Yeah.
You know, and I was 17 at the time. I don't think I really understood. It was just like, yeah, mom's here. Mom's always here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. You know, mom's always here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now mom's not here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what good moms do, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
So hard.
So do you think after all that, you must have like a really good perspective on your life now? It's like, because you know with that life, how fragile it can be. You knew twice. Now do you feel like you can have like, or you feel like you're a positive person in general? You know,
I mean, you definitely learn to not take these things for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the thought of death is something that a lot of people shy away from, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think you should.
No.
Yeah.
You know, you need to understand that this life is short. And, you know, even my friends, my family, I never leave a room without telling them I love them. Like, you just have to. Like, let the people in your life that you love know you love them. You know what I mean? Like, it might be the last time you see them. And that's like, that sounds grim, but it's the facts. It's true.
Yeah.
You know? So, like,
true.
I think we talked about this last night, Dorian. It's like, you gotta cherish these moments. Like, you know, I was just discussing, like, you know, those barbecues at my parents' house that would happen midday and like we'd all be hanging out and I was thinking like, fuck, I gotta get out of here, gotta go to the gym. You know, like I gotta get out of here. Like, Mom, I want to eat this, but I can't. I gotta go, you know, and you know that it's easy to reflect back and you know, when we talk about like balance during the off season, that's what it's about, man.
Yeah.
Go have fucking dinner with your mom, dude.
Yeah.
You mean go to your family's house and enjoy yourself. You can still do these things. You don't have to be in your box 24/7. I think the people who can operate with some normalcy in their life will ultimately be better bodybuilders.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it can be a very difficult existence. It can be a very hard and lonely existence, but you can find some common ground. Like even when we went to dinner the other night, what'd you have? You had steak and potatoes, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wanted to go, right? I knew I had already had cheat meals earlier in the week. I still wanted to go have a good time. So,
and I went with you guys and I just had a Diet Coke.
Yeah.
You know, and I still got to go out with my friends and experience the camaraderie. And I think a lot of people will shy away from that type of stuff. And maybe it's a personality thing. Not everyone has the ability or maybe the desire to go out with their friends to a dinner and, you know, not indulge. You know, maybe it's not for everybody, but I do encourage everybody, like especially in an off-season setting where there is some flexibility in your diet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I make sure I always tell my clients, like, listen, it's Christmas. I need you to just have some pie.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean? Like,
You gotta
eat your mom's home
enjoy
cooking. Like,
those
there's
moments.
some of those guys where you have to be like, hey, dude, you know, don't be an asshole today. You need to, you know, respect that we still have goals. But then there's some of those guys you're like, I need you to turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, some people can't turn it off. Some people really struggle.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, I think one of the points of living, like, I'm not gonna say meaning of life because it's like pretty freaking deep, but it's like you gotta enjoy it and just live it a little bit. Because if you're just working, you're piling up money, you're just working, you're not even spending time with the family. You know, the typical guy that works too much and then divorces and all this shit.
Yeah.
It's like you need to like live a little bit.
You absolutely have to. Yeah.
Then you have to consciously make it happen. Because sometimes I find I get caught up. I'm actually living a really good life now.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes I get caught up like thinking it's too much or something, whatever, right? I get in my own head. I'm just gonna sit back and like.
Well, you got to reflect and be grateful for what you have and realize.
Yeah, or just like
you know,
take.
But
like,
sometimes, like you said, it's these losses that make you value it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Maybe you
100%.
didn't understand the value of these moments.
without pain, there is no joy, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it sucks that sometimes you always say it's it's like you don't appreciate it till it's gone. But listen, there's always something to appreciate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Like, if just look around you, you will find value in your life and learn to appreciate it. You know what I mean?
100%.
Learn to value these relationships. Like, you know, if you have family, like my dad, I talked about it last night. You know, I was like, you know, my dad's. I gotta call my dad. Like, if you can call your dad, dude, call your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you're lucky enough to have them in your life still, you know what I mean? Embrace it.
For sure.
Yeah.
calling my mom every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
for
think-
sure.
And I think you understand how important that is with your mom.
Oh,
you know,
for
getting
sure.
sick and
Oh yeah,
know,
I was in
do
rehab.
you know.
I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but I started talking to her every day when I was in rehab, and I learned that she got sick, you know, and I was like calling her to complain about something. I was like, okay, then she said, why?
Yeah, you know what she's going through. You're like, I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
complaining.
I'm like,
She's still got a smile on her face.
oh no, she didn't get sick yet. Her boyfriend at the time got sick.
That's right. That's right.
And
But everything she went through, she always had a smile on her
after,
face.
yeah, I know,
She was
yeah.
always supporting you,
Yeah,
always
no,
there
yeah.
for you, always.
Yeah.
Antoine, always, you know.
yeah,
there.
I was there, but I called her every day.
Yeah.
Every day I try to call her. 100%.
so nice.
Good.
100%. So it's like when all things are said and done, no regret, right?
Yeah.
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 You know, that's one thing my mom said to me when she passed. And I had a conversation with her. It was like 2 days before she passed. She said, I have no regrets. And she meant it.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly.
She meant it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like,
awesome.
I was so inspired by that. I was like, man, I remember leaving and talking to Jasmine. I was like, man, my mom told me today she had no regrets. And it sounds simple, right? But when she said that in those moments, it was 2 days before she passed.
It's like
That's
peaceful
perfect.
too.
Yeah, she's like,
It's
there's no
peace.
regrets. That was
Yeah, that's perfect.
fuck, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I'm
there's nothing
crying again.
worse.
I'm sorry, you
No,
guys.
dude, it's fine. You're totally rightly so.
You know, my mom, when you talk about like not complaining,
Yeah.
I didn't realize, you know, until I watched my mom battle cancer. So she had esophageal cancer and she battled cancer for about 18 months. And I watched her just fucking fight, man. And like,
Yeah.
never complained once. So like she had a feeding tube in and she couldn't eat whole food for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just what a miserable existence. She couldn't even drink water because she would drink water and then it would hit her esophagus and hit the cancer and her body would reject it. And thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. But through that whole process, I never once heard my mom complain. I mean, not even once. I never heard her bitch about like being hungry, wanting food. It was just always like, you know, how are you, mom? I'm good. No, it's okay, mom. Like, how are you? You know, like she's never allowed herself to be a victim. And I remember she never wanted to talk about cancer.
Yeah.
She didn't want to talk about it. She said, I remember she said, she says, cancer is not a place I live. She said, it's a neighborhood I'm passing through.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, so like in one sense, I do feel like we never really got to face it,
Yeah.
you know, and there was times where I was like, I want to talk about this, mom.
Yeah.
Like I want to face it, but like she didn't want to, you know, she didn't want to live in it. She didn't want to,
She faced it in her own way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, but then,
Like she
but then
just
I think back.
accepted it. She knew, like,
Yeah, but then I think back on those moments, and we just talked about, you know, life and memories.
seems
And, like, good stuff, you know?
Seems like she was at peace and just knew she had
She
a good
was.
life and
She, you know, she had her faith, and she was so sure of.
where she's going.
Yep. Yeah, it was beautiful, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah, I can relate to that with my mom. She's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's awesome, man.
Anyway, yeah, I've been crying. I got to go train legs here soon.
Oh, let's go.
Make me cry.
Dude, probably feels good. No, we're keeping it together here.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
No,
it's
it's
good,
all right.
man. It's
Thanks for sharing all that. Because
Yeah, of course, man.
it creates a lot more perspective on like why you're such a good person, why you're such a good athlete, and also for everybody listening who's going through stuff. It's like, wow, this guy he went through all this.
Yeah.
You know, and
I feel like so fortunate to have you and Nick a part of the team.
Oh, thank you, man.
You know, just getting to meet you guys and spending time with Nick and spending time with you and just seeing how real and genuine you guys are.
Yeah.
Like me and you were joking, I think, but like even Nick, he's like, you know, just getting to know Nick and becoming friends with him. And it's like, this guy messages me like almost every day. If he knows I'm going through something, he's like, hey man, just checking on you. Like, how are
He
you?
messaged me multiple times. How's the
How
trip
are
going?
you? Yeah.
Like
he
through the, you know,
Same.
when I parted ways with Hostile, and he would see comments, be like, hey man, how are you doing? I seen some comments. You doing okay?
I'm like,
and like,
I feel bad. I'm like,
I know. I was like, you gotta text Nick and see how he's doing.
Yeah.
Because Nick's such a nice guy, man. I think you know, not a lot of people get to know, you know, Nick
side.
personally. You know what I mean? And if knowing him and being friends with him,
No, I know that's why you guys are such good friends. And
yeah,
connect,
he's
you
a
guys are
wonder. He's a
both-
wonderful person. He's very
Yeah.
caring, and kid's got a big heart. And I was so flattered when he brought me up to you, and then you reached out to me, and we had a conversation, and it honestly just felt so right for me to be a part of HD and coming here this trip and being able to experience the camaraderie and train with you guys. But not just that, but you and I have shared some deep conversations. You know, we've you know shared a meal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just I really see the value in this, and I'm so excited for the future, and I couldn't be more appreciative for the opportunity.
Yeah, we're really looking forward
yeah,
to
well,
it.
Yeah.
thanks, Justin, for sharing your story like that.
Of course.
You don't understand how much that could be valuable for some people. So
I hope so.
we really
Yeah.
appreciate that, and I know that people will also. So now it's training time,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Time to do what we're,
It's a leg day.
you know.
And we're going to be seeing a lot more of Justin on the podcast
on
here.
the pod.
Yeah, definitely.
Justin
Comment below
and
if you guys want to see more of us, because we kind of, you know, I know that you
brainstorming.
guys want to see myself and Nick in the podcast, and I think I see it in my comment sections, my direct messages. You know, we all want to do something like that. We want to bring you guys more of us. So comment down below and let us know what you guys want to see. And
We got some names too. What should we call it?
I
Yeah,
don't
there
know.
you go.
We're-
Comment what we should call this, because bro chat's taken, right? It's all right. Maybe the pro chat or something. I don't know. You guys decide. But thanks for watching. Thank
Yep,
you, Justin.
of course. Thank you guys for having me. This was fun.
And Now
Yeah.
time to get a freaking pump.
Time to get huge.
See you
I
later,
gotta
guys.
catch these legs. All right, guys.